Welcome to the Speakers Practice and our fortnightly Friday Forum. Hi, I'm Adrienne McLean, the founder of the Speakers Practice. I'd like to introduce Sally Foley-Lewis, our guest speaker for today. Hi there, Sally.
Hi, Adrienne. Great to be here.
Great to have you. The Friday Forum is for business people. This is a free 30-minute session where you will meet amazing business people who have experience in a wide variety of topics. You will hear fabulous approaches from experts in their field. Today we are privileged to have Sally Foley-Lewis with us. Sally trains managers to be more productive, to really connect and communicate with their staff, and to achieve those highly sought after goals. Sally's going to give us some tools to be a successful manager. Right, Sally, I've been so looking forward to this. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks, Adrienne. I'm really excited because you and I have known each other for a little while. This is my first Google Hangout, so it's all about building the tools in your toolkit. So thank you.
Oh, our pleasure. So our first question, Sally, is what does it take to manage people?
I think it's a case of being able to manage people. You as the manager need some pretty keen and pretty clear skills. What we're looking at here are things like being able to listen. Your power as a listener will be incredibly invaluable because you're listening for the key trigger words, you're listening for the key problems, you're listening for the key benefits, you're listening for what's not being said. And I think as a manager, it's really important that when it comes to having to manage your team, you're a listener. And then the other thing I think that gets a little bit lost is decision making in the context or blended with your confidence. So for example, when I do some coaching, and just recently actually, I've been doing some executive coaching, and it's coming up quite often that the manager goes into having this negotiable or this consultative process on things that just shouldn't be negotiated. If you look at someone's job or any of our jobs, there are things you just got to do, and you don't necessarily like them, but you got to do them, and they're non-negotiables. Yet there's other components to our work which can be negotiated. And I think there's been a little bit of confusion or a little mix-up in what should or shouldn't be negotiated or consulted. And so where that taps into confidence is where sometimes managers need a little bit more confidence in being a little bit more direct. And direct doesn't mean rude, and direct does not mean aggressive. And so we need to get that clear as well. And it's about being clear that, look, I get that you don't like doing this task, but guess what? You don't have to like it, but you have to do it. That's part of your job. This one's a non-negotiable. And I think that if there's a little bit more confidence in that, our people management will become a little bit more smoother. There could be some pushback when you are a little more direct, but opening up the line of communication really helps for people to understand this is what I can negotiate on and this is what I can't negotiate on, and that again becomes clear. And the third thing I'd say about what it takes to manage people is the big three. Managers needing to learn to have clear expectations, also looking at being their delegation. Sometimes it's about letting go. There's an ego, there's a control, there's trust. There's all sorts of underlying issues to delegation, but also doing it properly. We don't dump and run as we're walking out the door. We don't send an email at 5 to 5 and then be gone for the weekend or invisible for days. Delegating properly. We're setting people up for success because your staff's success is your success. And the third one in the big three is around good quality feedback. Feedback that is actually about change, it's about behaviour and not about the personal attack. So there's some of the keys I think it takes to really manage people. Yeah.
People are inherently complex, so it takes a lot of experience to manage, I would expect.
Yeah, I think one of the visual analogies is when I was growing up, my and I would have to go to my grandmother's place for the afternoon or something. We'd make pom poms, and
Yes.
I think of these fluffy pom poms, and I think, well, when we have a fluffy pom pom, we have a soft, feel good kind of day with a people management issue, and then you can get these little hedgehog spiky ones where it's really prickly, and so maybe that's a tougher people management moment. So
Yes.
I think of you know soft moments and prickly moments, and welcome to the human race.
Yes.
We all have good days, we all have bad days, and
Mm.
our good intentions sometimes don't sort of fall out the way we want them to fall out. They sometimes fall apart. Pick yourself up and try again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what does it take, and does it have to be a special person to be a good manager, or can we all be managers?
I think that's a great question. It's like a leader's born or made type of question. I think everyone has the potential to be a manager. There are skills that we can all learn to be effective in our role as a manager. However, I think there's a certain, for want of a better term, X factor. There is an X factor which I think is reliant on your attitude and your mindset. It's around whether you want the job or not. It must be about a year ago now. I had a room full of IT experts, real expert technicians, and these guys had been promoted into either their first or second level management positions, probably maybe been in the job management role for about 12 months, if not less.
Yes.
And so I asked the question, who likes being a manager? And some of them sort of nodded, and one guy put his hand up and said, I hate it and I want my old job back. And I thought, well, good on you for acknowledging that that's not for you. But in answer to your question directly, yes, anyone can be a manager. And then here comes the fine point. There's skill development, there's attitude, there's the desire. That's what really makes the successful component of being a manager. Yeah, for sure.
And there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with a role like that. So sometimes people just can't take on those roles. They've got too much going on in their lives, and it's complex.
For sure. For sure. I had an administration officer work for me, and the first time I stepped into a management role and I had a supervision session with this person, she said, Sally, I don't want to climb up any ladder. I want my job. I'm in administration. Don't try and make me do anything more. And of course, my eyes bugged out my head because I thought, okay. I was thinking of it from my filter, and I was being ambitious.
Yeah.
But once she had said quite clearly to me, this is where I'm staying and I am happy as, I thought, fantastic.
Yeah.
Be where you should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for those people who do want to be managers, then it's time to really think about what skills they need to put into their toolkit to be a successful manager.
Yeah. What happens when there are huge pressures on managers? Stress in the workplace is a big issue. What happens then?
I think what can happen is we go to our worst selves. When we feel stressed or we're getting towards a level of burnout, we would almost turn into the opposite of what our normal behaviour would be. If we could identify or label our behaviour as X, Y, Z on a good day, then I think when things get really tough and we feel the pressure, we feel like we're being pulled in all directions and it's really stressful, I believe we tend to almost do a 180 degree and start to behave in the exact opposite to our normal default behaviour. And that's part of coping. And it's not bad, it's not good, it just is. I think it's just how our bodies and our minds start to try and cope with what's going on. And I think what I'm seeing a lot of at the moment is a messy or a misunderstanding or a blending of this thing of urgent versus important. And I'm in an executive coaching situation at the moment with someone who churns out emails, constantly getting these emails going out in all directions. And there's spelling errors, there's information errors, there's incomplete sentences. And I'm the outsider and I get copies of these, I can see these errors are purely because there's this unrealistic thought process that these are all urgent.
Yes.
Where, the organisation, the senior executives who've hired me are telling me, we don't need this to be urgent, we need it to be important. We actually need this manager to stop, to breathe, to get it right. And so I think one of the things that happens to managers that they just keep piling things onto themselves, and so they don't actually know where to start, and so therefore they don't start anything or don't get anything done. They either explode or they'll either quietly implode. And so I think one of the things that managers can do, particularly in this when the pressure's on, is to reprioritize. So at the moment I'm working with another client where every morning when she walks into the office, she gives herself 5 minutes just to reprioritize her day. And then because she has a lot of reactionary stuff comes onto her desk, she's going to force herself to have maybe 20 minutes, but no less than 10, lunch break. And that was a challenge to get her to have 10 minutes. But she's going to have that lunch break, and when she comes back, she's going to reprioritize again. Because she's not done that for a long time. And we're in a process of trialing 2 reprioritizations in the one day. So it really is about going back to what's the most important thing. First things first. What can I get done that needs to get done now? I am in a management training exercise I do with some people. We the whole idea of it is about to get them to do some planning. And so of course, you set the activity up so that you tease them a bit and they want to play with resources, they want to start building, they want to start doing, and that's the purpose of it. And so we jump into a planning process, and I don't let them touch things, and I don't release resources, and I don't do this, and I make all these challenges so that I'm forcing them as best possible to do some real clear planning. And by the time we go through the whole activity and whatever they've constructed falls over or looks ridiculous or whatever happens, in the debrief, every single time in the debrief, the comment comes up, we should have planned more. Yeah. Because what happens is when I'm telling them, you have 5 minutes left to finish, panic, because that's the stress, that's the pressure. And so, again, planning. Just taking that moment of pause and actually thinking, no, what do I need to do right now? What is the most effective use of my time right now? Yeah. And I think managers, they feel the pressure, and that's not going to change.
No.
And trying to change that and trying to think that you'll never have pressure is a bit like trying to push water up a hill. It's an acceptance thing, not a try to change thing.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the job. It's an active environment, and the pressure's always going to be on. So time management is a huge component of it.
Yeah.
So
and out of that comes delegation and being able to delegate really effectively and being able to build the trust and communication in the team. So I think there's none of these sort of aspects of management stand alone. For good quality delegation, you need to have communication, you need to have trust, you need to have a sense of team. Everything taps into each other when it comes to the skills that a manager needs to be a good people manager and then handle the pressure.
Okay, so the big question, what tools do managers need to assist them to be successful managers?
I thought about this question in our preparation for this, and there are so many online tools, there's so many resources, there's a plethora of things on the market that you can buy. If you look just at time management and productivities, There's mobile apps, there's planners, there's calendars, there's all sorts of things that you can use to help you be more successful as a manager. And what I always seem to come back to is the system you create for yourself that actually is working and makes sense to you is going to be the best system. If you're using something, or you started using something and you totally forgot it, or it's not working, then stop expecting it to work and go find something. Yeah. What's the definition of insanity? Cut yourself some slack and really focus on doing one thing and doing it well when it comes to finding a tool to work for you. Now, tools for managers to help them be successful managers, I think, come down to their skills. I look at tools as actually what are the skills that you have, particularly around the people management aspect. How good is your tool of communication? How good is your tool of delegation? How good is your tool of team building or problem solving and decision making? And so I would call tools in this particular context your soft skills, your professional skills, your people management skills. And so to help you fine tune those and help you to improve them and continuously develop them, then in my opinion, I think that's where your coach, your trainer, or your mentor really comes into play. Don't be complacent. What other information is out there that helps you get some really good insight into what you are like as a people manager? Focus on developing your emotional intelligence and learning more about your own styles in different contexts. For example, what's your personality style? What's your management style? What's your preferred communication style? You don't need to spend bucket loads of money on assessments. Even just thinking these things through, using your own language, helps you build your tools. Yeah.
And it's good to be thinking about the different areas that need addressing and looking for ways to help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if you have a trusted colleague, or if you've got a good relationship with your boss, then I think it pays to have a very specific conversation. Be prepared to hear things that you might not have thought you'd want to hear, but if you ask, be prepared to get the answer. And at the same time, you don't have to react to that right then and there. Just absorb it, reflect on it, and make an action as to how you'll move forward from it. It's hard sometimes to ask for feedback, but it is going to be the one development tool that will help you.
Yes.
I really believe that.
Absolutely, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the question that I ask all our guests is, as a trainer and mentor and a professional speaker yourself, what's your advice about promoting your business by speaking?
I think it's about customization. That's sort of the one word that came up for me. As a trainer, I can go into a lot of organisations with any sort of off-the-shelf skill development training program. But at the end of the day, have I met the need of that client? It's about making sure that the message I'm walking in to deliver actually meets the needs of that client on that day. When I've been in this role for so long, I can start to categorize a certain amount of management problems, and I can say, oh yeah, everyone has that problem. But the reality is, when I'm in the room with the client's not thinking everyone has this management issue. This is my issue and my problem. So it's about being able to customize your message. And I think this translates also for managers. The communication one manager has with Bob is going to be the different style to the message and the communication they have with Mary, because Bob and Mary have different communication preferences. So being able to customize to suit the client, I think, is absolutely critical. The client wants to feel that you are there for them. And I think in the professional speaking engagement and the public speaking trainer context, I was I get what's the word? What's a diplomatic word I could use? I get a little cranky when when I see a trainer or a speaker open their session with, so what are we going to talk about today? Let me just check my slide, and they turn their back and they read the slide, and I think, are you trying to show off because you're so busy, you speak to so many people, or are you really not organised and not prepared? And if it's one or the other, to me, they're both wrong. And that's an opinion. I would much rather you step in and say, I'm here for you. This is our topic. This is what I understand is the issue for you. Let's get in and let's fix it and let's work through it. You know, and be present. And that's that customised concept that I'm banging on about.
Yes, be present and aware about what the clients are looking for, I suppose, the help that they're needing.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
Yes. Yeah. And so, the step before customization is listening. And that's the first thing I said when we talk about what does it take to be a people manager. We need to listen so we can diagnose and therefore customize.
Oh, well, thank you, Sally. That's great advice, and I think we can use that in multiple areas. Now, Sally, you have a product called Management Success Cards. Would you like to tell us a bit about your Management Success Card system?
When I was first into management, I ran headfirst into my first CEO role, and the people who were pushing me and headhunting me and encouraging me to take the role were incredibly invisible once I took the role. And so I felt very isolated, and I felt lonely and unsupported, and that sounds a bit blamey, and with hindsight I'm not blaming them, I was sharing how I felt at the time. And so I found it a real challenge to be at the pointy end of the organisation, and found that I was in desperate need of some sort of, coach in my pocket, or some sort of trainer, or somebody that would help me transition from being I was a very good project manager. I was a very good program developer, and I could be on the ground with the clients exceptionally well. So my transition needed some assistance, and thankfully I had a fantastic team. But I would have really shone. I would have really hit the ground running a lot quicker if I'd had somebody or something to help me be a better manager of my team a lot quicker. And so one of the things that has come out of that experience is I never want any manager to go through what I went through. So I created the Management Success Cards, and there's 65 colour-coded cards that are there to prompt the thinking. There's a whole range of them there. They're all colourful and groovy. I've been told that they're quite groovy, and I've been told they're quite provocative, which it sings to my heart. But every card deals with a management skill, 12 management skills, from communication through to time management, and designed to empower your thinking so that you can create actions, and therefore the skill is embedded and you do become an even more successful manager. And people can grab their set of cards on managementsuccesscards.com.au.
Oh, thank you, Sally. Because part of being a good manager is becoming aware of what's going on. So those cards will sort of clip in, make people think about what they're experiencing or what they might have experienced. Oh, I can see that's a
Absolutely
fantastic tool.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
I've had one. Thank you very much. I've had someone tell me that each skill section has 5 cards, and so what they've done is on Monday they have 1 card, and they sit there with a card on that day, and they read the question, they think about what answers pop up throughout the course of the day, and so what they'll then do is think about what actions they'll take. and then on Tuesday, for example, they'll do the second card. And so by the end of the week, they've spent a whole week immersed in that skill, and without it overtaking their other duties and their other work requirements. And so I love the idea that this is on the desk. It's not taking you away from all your other work, which, you know, it doesn't go away when you go away.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's exactly what I would have valued if and when back then.
Yes.
So
Oh, well, fantastic resource. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that. Okay, well, that comes to an end of our discussion. Thank you, Sally, so much for being here with us today. It's been so informative. You've got so much information there, and I'm sure we've all taken lots of take-home tips and tools to be a successful manager. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you, Adrian. It's my pleasure. I think you can tell I'm a little passionate about this topic.
You certainly are. It's great to hear, and it's actually a resource and an area that people are really needing in the workplace. So it's so important what you're doing. Well done. And
Oh, thank
we'll
you.
sign off. Thank you to everyone for listening in.
Thank you.